metaphor thing. And I want to hear Zach talk about beer frequencies.
Well, so precursor to this is anything I say in what I'm about to use as examples is knowing the other people I'm talking to know what I'm talking about. So if I say this beer has a lot of high end and a lot of this, like don't actively think about the high end. Think about the emotional energy of what high end means. Or this has like a lot of mids, or this beer is really scooped. We're not actually talking about, don't think about frequencies. Think about what those frequencies mean to you when you casually listen. I'm not going like too deep. But yeah, like a lager. I just lost all credibility. Feels like really upper mid heavy.
Yeah, it's got that piercing kind of flavor, but it's still kind of that dull,
it's really
like heavy.
Based out. Like, yeah, but you're not quite into like the low.
It's got a pleasant low mid scoop.
Yeah, you can describe alcohols and foods in terms of music. And so if you're talking to your music friends describing beer, I'd highly recommend go try to talk about it from the mixing process. Like, go try 3 beers, describe it as you describe a mix to them, and it will quickly really make sense. Because, yeah, high end, very crisp sound, really crisp thing, which even just saying crisp is just all tones, mid, and then low. And you get all these different feelings from a beer. That's similar how mixes. You can have a mix that's meant for somebody that's really like high heavy, and that's just what like the song needs. People might not like what the song needs though, but that's what the song is, similar to a beer. You might not like that beer, but that's what that beer needed. That's not the beer for you. That's why you should go pass it to your friend after you take your first sip and you don't like it. Be like, hey, who wants this? If you get like a Guinness has like some good lows with some casual like higher mids.
Guinness has the 500 hertz band as wide as possible, as low as possible.
It's expanded. It's smooth. And you can also, talk about like the dropouts of it. Because the Guinness is a really thick beer. It just doesn't feel like a thick beer, which you can have songs that are really like low-end heavy songs. They just don't feel low-end heavy because
Get the body out of them.
Exactly how they produce it, how they expand it, how they do all that. Like you can finesse anything into a place that it needs to be. But that place isn't always for anybody.
Can you compress a beer?
Nitro brew.
I think compression is how you could describe liquor.
Actually,
liquor.
Imperial beers.
Oh, actually, maybe.
Nah, I just feel like Imperials just need that high end toned down a bit. It's piercing a little bit.
I think that's because of the compression. I think it brings out more of the highs. Typically, beer's got a pretty soft high end just overall.
Except for some like double IPAs or some like heavy lagers.
Yeah, well, double IPA is similar. I might be talking out of my ass. I think it's a similar process to like Imperial.
Well, I'll say that's where the high end gets confusing with beers because they're a carbonated drink. And so a lot of people could interpret the fizzle as describing it as high end.
What's the distortion?
Actually, that's the best way to put it.
That's fair.
And that's why I would say Guinness is very, very low end, very mid heavy, upper mids even sometimes, but low end mid heavy because it's that nitro. You don't get that fizzle. Like you chug them. It's kind of, I will even compare it to listening to some hard bass banging in your car. You're going to listen to some, there are people who are definitely exceptions, don't get me wrong. You're not going to listen to like 5 bass heavy bangers in the back of your trunk unless you're in like a specific mindset, which there are people who will chug like some 5 Guinnesses back in back.
I'll also listen to entire albums of bass music, so fuck off.
But for the most part, like that's you're supposed to like diddle it in with some other stuff. I can't say diddle because P. Diddy got arrested 2 nights ago, so.
Rest in peace, P. Diddler.
But yeah.
So the question is, why can we have this conversation and know what we were talking about?
Because taste and music go hand in hand. That's why you can feel like a round ball and describe it. That's like why our musical things we talk about are... Okay, hold on. Ethan, don't look at me like that.
What do you mean by
Why
that?
you can feel an orb that is smooth with your hand.
You can feel these smooth orbs with your hand, boy.
Gee, I'ma slap the top of your head and feel a smooth orb.
Goddamn right.
But so a lot of our musical terminology is based off physical terminology. It's not audibly, we just came up with these terms. We had the physical terms before. Rounded. Let's round out this mix. Let's expand this mix. Let's do all this, because these are physical things that we're translating into audible terms. Because audio is just very inherent. We know if somebody plays a thing what each other is feeling, because audio is one of our biggest things. We just have made way more words for touch and scent and taste, because that's been more practical for people. Loud, quiet. Like, crunchy is almost a physical thing. Like, give me that crunchy bass. That's imitating the feeling of crunching something. Like, yeah, our musical terminology is based on physical world terminology, in my opinion. I might be absolutely wrong with that, but...
I think you're definitely onto something. It's called embodied cognition theory. One of the things it suggests is that essentially everything that we can think about has to do with how our bodies move in space. All our ideas, all our understandings of objects, more specifically, all the ways we talk about experience have to do with physical movement, physiology. This results in things like all our ways for describing anger, like
I'm
going
heated.
red, I'm feeling heated. These all have to do with physiological responses. When you're angry, your autonomic arousal engages, your body temperature rises. You are literally heated. One of the implications for this is that the only way we can think about things is by thinking about bodies moving in space and how we engage with the world. And so we talk about music as, you can talk about metal as heavy. And that's a physical sensation. And it describes what it actually feels like to be at a metal show and have sound pressing on your chest in that kind of way.
What's even called literally metal. Like, it's the name of these genres based off of a physical object that we know how it works and how it moves.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking, that's part of the reason why people have their tastes in genres they like, genres they don't like. Because when you listen to metal music, you have that feeling of metal music, like the tightness of chest. When you listen to super heavy bass music, you have the feeling of the super heavy bass, like when you're sitting in a car and just rattling your body. When you listen to EDM or rave music, it has that kind of feeling to it. So it's part of the reason of different genres you like is what feeling that happens in your body when you listen to music do you enjoy the most.
Yeah. And if you're into softer music, stuff with more melody to it, there's stuff showing that as frequencies move higher or lower, as in the sound waves expand or contract, that's actually mapping onto a part of your brain that manages space. And so it is like massaging your brain based on the arrangement of frequencies. And it's an equally physical thing as this bass music that you feel in your chest.
Yeah, and I mean down to the baseline of how we all hear, the whole basis of sound and our perception of it, we base around 20 to 20K. And that's because the hairs in our ear canals, they pick up the different frequencies, and it's the frequencies between 20 and 20K that humans can actually perceive and hear.
And if you want to get really nitpicky, the hairs only detect down to 100. The rest is your chest and your head.
You're right.
We're up to 16,000 to 18,000 depending on the human, right?
Yeah, when you get hearing loss, the high end is the first to go.
Age comes into account when you're talking about younger people liking certain things and old people being like, oh, nah, that's not where it's at. It's because you're literally hearing different things.
I just mean as the baseline, what we consider human hearing.
Yeah, our sense of sound, it represents that. And that's just a very small fraction of all the waves going on around us. Like, maybe there's some species who perceive light the same way we perceive sound, because it's also waves.
Everything is just wiggly air.
I mean, there could be the mantis shrimp. I want to say
there could be a mantis shrimp.
Mantis shrimp see music.
Mantis shrimps have 13 different variety of cones and rods, while humans only have 3, I want to say.
Mantis shrimp.
Dude, I stole way more cones than that from the local construction site.
Bro, I stole one from a Biscuitville. Shout out the one over off. I can't say that.